So in this video, I will, to the best of my abilities, speak about different swing styles. I had another video that was called Power Styles, which is kind of derived from this, if you will. I will link it up here somewhere, and you can check it out. It's kind of interesting as well. So in one end of the corner here, or one end of the spectrum, you have the old school swing. This is where I feel you actually use the golf club a lot, right? That's what I love, that's what I teach. This is my bias. Then in the middle, I have more of this kind of, what is derived from the golfing machine's hitting protocol, what is derived from MORAD and so on, right? Which I find to be super cool. And there's also like a modern variation of this that is very, very popular on Instagram and stuff. So I'll talk about this one. And then finally, I'll talk about what I call like the slingshot swing or the baseball-inspired swing. All right, I'll hit a couple of wedges here, and let's see if I can hit a couple of spinners as well. That would be nice. To produce some kind of backspin on this hole. If I can get over, a little bit further than the flag, it should spin back quite nicely. I was just 2 yards too short. So I'll cover the different characteristics of these swing categories when it comes to power, like how do you produce power in this system? What is demanded from a body perspective to make it work? I lack a little bit of distance. What is demanded from a mind perspective to make it work? What my feeling of performing these motions are? And finally, what I perceive to be the key success factors. I'm a firm believer that there are definitely different ways of performing a golf swing. And it's helpful if you kind of have some kind of categorization to kind of rifle through all of the different golf advice that exists on YouTube, including mine. So I say it straight off the bat. I'm interested in the old school stuff, right? So let's jump into it. So I'll start with my favorite, actually. I'll start with what I'm teaching, actually, in the FMM swing system, Forgotten Master Move swing system. And that is the old school variation. So when I was studying this, I'm going to keep studying it for 20 years, but I've studied for 10, and it's about using the golf club a lot. Like really unleashing this golf club and making this club the centerpiece of the show. Making the club, the hands and the arms, the engine of the whole movement, right? That's what it's about. And the way that you produce power in this is through stimulating centrifugal force as much as possible. I actually never really think about my body when I'm hitting these golf shots, the ones that you see me hitting on YouTube. I let the club and the hands and the arms be the driver for this entire motion. Sure, I drill a little bit one-handed swings and stuff like this to get my body going, but otherwise I never think about the body. So the body perspective of this is that you are really using like body angles that makes it possible to unleash the golf club. And when you use these body angles, you can kind of use the golf club for the shallowing mechanism. I find the most difficult thing in golf, myself, is to make like a big shallow move, like a transition shallow move. I know there are loads of people that are way more talented than I am that can do that, but from a brain perspective, that's just difficult to me. And when it comes to this style of motion, so what I've gathered the last 10 years, is that the absolute key success factor here is to really unleash the club. I'm talking about properly letting that club go. And for instance, grip pressure, I don't have a super high grip pressure. I control my blade with a follow-through intention that is based in the golf club instead, right? So I find that to be the key success factors, and I find it to be the most fun thing to play with because it unlocks my athletic ability when it comes to this reacting on the golf course. It makes it easy to hit different golf shots. So if I'm, for instance, going to hit a fade, it's very simple. And in the same way, if I'm going to hit a draw, I also find it to be simple because the mechanics are more happening because of your abstract intentions than anything else. Like in many modern teachings, it would be more about creating technical mechanical positions that you translate into fields. But in the old school variation that I like, it's more like your abstract intentions leads to mechanics. So that's the old school variation. And now let's jump into this kind of semi-modern, more Hitter protocol, MORAD, inspired motion. So let's talk about the second one. I said old school and this kind of semi-modern kind of push-based swing, and then you have the rotational baseball sling swing, right? So this is the middle one. So I feel that this is a swing that is developed, that is probably originating from Homer Kelly in the golfing machine. And this kind of, I'm not the biggest golfing machine guy, right? I don't know it like as well as I should. I've kind of deliberately not gone into it to not get my I had another task. I want to teach old school golf, and I felt like, yeah, that's one way of doing it, and I want to figure it out myself. But what I understand is that when you're using the trail arm and you're kind of pushing the trail arm with trail arm extension, and you're using this angle here, I think they call it a flying wedge, to your advantage, you can really control that club face. So it's kind of a push-based motion. So in relation to what I'm doing, I'm kind of opening my blade here. You can do that too, but you have it a little bit more shut in relation to like how it's interpreted like on Instagram and stuff. And you put yourself in this, the blade like the spine position. You have a very good rigidity here. And then you perform a strike that is kind of rotating through the shot. That was a very bad representation of that. I will do another one. The only reason that I don't like, if my mind would work with the golfing machine, if my mind would work with MORAD, I would probably do it. But it really doesn't. Like, I can't think mechanically in the golf swing. It doesn't work. But I have nothing but respect for this system. I don't have nothing but respect for the golfing machine. I have nothing but respect for MORAD. But it's just that I can't really do it myself. So it's kind of egoistical that I've taken out developed my own swing system basically because I want to have something that I can do myself. But with that comes the ability to teach it as well. So there are different ways of hitting a golf ball, and this kind of semi-modern, kind of push-based motion is definitely one of them. So the key success factor here is the trail hand wrist, in my opinion, that you keep this in check. That will keep the blade in check. And the really poster boy for it, I don't know if he's actually training it that way, but I feel like Tommy Fleetwood here has a motion that fits very well into this description model. And he's a pretty good golfer, right? From a personal perspective, the real key success factor when I'm able to do it is that you come in this position and that you extend your trail arm in the downswing. You extend it like this. That has been a really big key success factor when it comes to performing it. And then that you use this kind of, how would you put it, intentional body rotation through the golf ball. I find it to be a super cool way of doing it. I find it to be a lot more effortful than what I'm doing in the old school swing. I will show you what I mean here. So this is what I'm doing, right? It's less effort in the feeling of doing it, but I can't say what is best. I can't say what I find to be achievable and what I find to be teachable. And those balls landed pretty much on the same spot as well, which was cool. From a body perspective, there's some other stuff going into this than like the old school swing. Since you're actually efficiently, you're pushing your hands and you're rotating, you're adding, how would you call it, steepening elements from here to here, which means that you need to have shallowing elements to deal with it. I know that was a lot of words. So the point is, if I'm pushing and rotating, my club is here, therefore I need to lean to reach it, right? So you need to have a little bit of side bend when you're doing this. And yeah, so I really like this motion. I think it's a very controlled feeling. I like the freeness of the old school stuff much more, personally. But I think it's a great motion. And the key success factor for me has always been the feeling of where this is in time and space, and to extending the trail arm in the downswing like this, right? That has been a key success factor. All right, let's jump into the slingshot. So the slingshot swing, I think is greatly represented here by, you have Akshay Bhatia here, you have Victor Hovland, you have Shaquille Niemann, you have Dustin Johnson. It's my way of just categorizing to make sense out of the golf world, right? But it's basically that you can do the backswing in a couple of variations, but I make it simple here. You put your backswing, you come in this kind of, you know, vertical backswing, if you will. Then you make sure to get your lead wrist in this position and the trail wrist in this position, and shallow the club at the same time as you're now, because now you have shut the face and you have delayed the face. And I come into it in a second. And you rotate like crazy. You get into the ground, you rotate your way open here, which means that you're going to be in these, I'm ripping it apart now, I'm not doing this style, right? You're going to be in these positions. You see the shaft lean, you see the amount of body opening, like 70 degrees with the hips, like 30 degrees with the chest, and you delay the release. You're not hitting at all. You're slinging. When you're doing this opening of the body and the arms are hanging back, not in a stuck position, but they're hanging back in relation to the body. There's stretches going on here in the body, and when the stretches are happening, they want to shoot out. And that's why it looks a little bit different. If you look on Dustin Johnson here, you look on his, you know, P8 after impact, he's like coming here, he's coming, you know, he's hitting the ball, and then it's just, he dies, right? Yeah, they use the body a lot in the downswing to stimulate the sling. And then, of course, you can use the body more in the through swing as well. But the power system is really built on this stretch. And the sling is stimulating centrifugal force through the stretch and through a centripetal action, which is the body in this case. So I can't even demonstrate this because I'm not good enough. But it would be something like, I mean, I'm not good enough to do it. You would, most of the time, be a very good driver of the golf ball with this. You can probably be a great wedge player as well, but you would see these guys hitting this very nice cut drive. And I remember on US Masters when Dustin Johnson won it a bunch of years ago, I mean, he was barely off the fairway and it was just brutal. It was really great driving, and it's a completely different motion than the other two, in my opinion. So again, it's about using the body as a huge rotator, and then again, a little bit like this, the push-based system, you need to use right lateral bend to get down to the golf ball. So you're here, you're rotating like crazy, and then you need to get down to it, right? And that's also where these kind of weird positions come from. I really think this is super potent, and I really think that if you're into this style of motion, you need to speak with someone that is very good with this motion, because here is, if you're hitting it and doing this motion, you are in weak body positions. So really speak to an expert if you're interested in this swing style. All right, so that's my coverage of that. And I actually forgot one thing. When it comes to the slingshot motion, I have succeeded with it for like 6 months or something, like decently, but I didn't kind of respond to it the way that I wanted. The key success factor was to think about the swing like 3 pieces, like backswing, then that's 1, then that's 2, and then that's 3. You thought about it in 3 pieces, and that created a sensation of not hitting the ball, but of not doing anything with the club basically, and then slinging it out there. And it's for the guys that know it, like for instance Milo Lyons, which is a great coach with this, or George Gankas, I mean, the results are just very, very impressive. All right, so that's my categorization, and that's how I see golf swings. And you probably know it by now that I'm very biased towards old school golf, and it's basically because I enjoy it the most. And I have a much simpler time of hitting like roughly the same shot over and over again. But that's a matching towards me. The question is what the matching is to you. So I really recommend that you look on my other power video as well, because this will make sense too. So I'm going to link it after this one. And I hope that you could take something out of this. Thank you very much for listening.